Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today I want to be bringing you 3 different build orders in one guide. You might think, why am I doing this crazy special exclusive video? Well, it's actually a little bit of an idea exploration thing. We are looking at one opener for the Dark Age where you can then pick and choose from these builds depending on how you scout your opponent in order to adapt to them. And so from the build orders, they all share the same opener. And so hey, maybe then it's then a little bit easier for you to not lock yourself into a build and then realize it's the wrong one, because you can change. You can change based off your scouting information. All right, so if you guys have any questions about the builds, they are in the description below, fully tapped out with all of the direction that I'm also giving in this video and more. And if you have any questions about the builds, check out the comment section, write me a comment there, a question, I'll be happy to answer it. And yeah, if you're interested in coaching, at the end of the video, there will be something about that as well. All right, have fun with these builds, good luck, and have fun. The first build I'm going to be showing you is going to be the English King Stable Opener, and what you're going to be trying to accomplish with this build is aggression. Early aggression with that added mobility of the Horseman and the King, combined with the later transition into Spear Longbow, give you a really good avenue for aggression, since what you're doing is you are forcing out a specific countercomp from your opponent, typically spears and cavalry, and those don't fare very well against spears and longbows, so that's what you're trying to do here. You're opening up with the King, you open up getting it stable, and then you force out units that you can then counter. Playing a long feudal feels really good here because you get your farm set up and you get, you know, that long feudal age going with your upgrades, and then it feels pretty good to play feudal aggression, and you can head into the castle age and later imperial age without much of a sweat. So this build, use it against Delhi, Friend, Jan. Use it as an aggressive build where you don't need to necessarily all in, but where playing long feudal is very good for you. I'll link the build down in the description, of course. What you're going to be doing is you're going to be, of course, queuing up bills non-stop. If you're a new player, always queue up bills. Don't stop doing this. Rally onto gold first with your 2 first vills. Don't build the house with a gold vill, just build the mining camp. Let a food vill build that first villager. So 5 on food, 1 to build the house, back to food, then 2 to gold. What you're going to be doing is very simple. You just rally onto food for the rest of the time being until you can age up at about 210. Important to get the age up going as quick as possible, and that's usually at 210. Don't delay until 230 or 240. Practice it. Get it below 220 at least. 215, absolutely acceptable. That's normal. 210 is the earliest as possible. You're going to be able to do a drop off to do that. Again, don't sweat it if you don't want to do that. Just pay attention to your gold. When it's below 3900 gold, they will drop off, and then you can drop off your food as well, and then it's completely synchronized, and you can age up. From here on out, you're going to be doing a 6 villager on food split with 2 on gold. The 2 on gold serve the purpose of adding in upgrades, making this a pretty good long feudal build, because you get your economic upgrades, then your blacksmith upgrades at 8 minutes. Here what you're doing is you are keeping 6 on food, and those 6 in food will pre-gather the food you need to instantly start horseman production once you've aged up. Aging up at 210 is going to give you about 350 age up, and that's the time where we're trying to get a stable. If you were building houses before this, you won't be able to do that, and so your king will come out before your horseman, and you just want to practice getting the horseman and the king out at the same time. So what you do is you keep 6 in food, 2 on gold, you rally onto wood, get that lumber camp, and then you rally all the way up until you have 11 on wood. Then you get 11 on food, and then you play it out. You can then rally onto wood and add farms, whatever you want to do. It's up to you, and it's up to the game you're playing. Not every build can go that far into the game without you having to make some changes. So, just rally wood, just drop off your sheep. If you get no sheep, pretty bad for you. You want to get at least some sheep, but in the worst case scenario, move out to the deer, move out to the berries, and then play for your life, because if you don't get sheep, you're going to struggle. So, H-up is going to come around soon. You're going to have your lumber camp. Abbey of Kings is out. It's 350. Now what we're going to do is we're going to wait for the wood to come out. So we get 150 wood. Don't build a house even though it says that you're about to be housed. That's fine. Just build that stable once you can. And you should be able to do that about now. As you can see, these bills carry all the wood that we do need to age. To get that stable. So it's just a matter of drop off right there. Build the stable. You can build it with all 4 vills. I recommend that. You can also build it with 2. Then at 410, you want to get your house. Comes around now. I'm a little bit late here, but you can build your house now and avoid any conflict in terms of getting housed. If you do get housed like I'm doing here, just build it with a few more villas. All right, so next up is going to be the double broadaxe. Queue that up. Get your horseman, get your king, and start the aggression. You will age up at 350, and you'll be able to get your king out at 430. Just keep making horsemen until you have 4 or 5 of them, then stop. Because your opponent will be prompted to go and do a counter composition, so you want to switch comp as well. Double broadaxe, then you're going to get your next production building, which is going to be a barracks, most likely, or it's going to be an archer range. If your opponent is going cavalry, you don't want to open archer range, you want to open barrack. If your opponent opens infantry, you can open archer range, because archers counter infantry, and your spears will get countered if they're opening like spear archer or something. So just get spear archer in that sense. If they open cavalry, don't get archers immediately. Get your spears first, because you need the spears to protect your longbows. Get your wheelbarrow. Really important that you build your mill and you get your wheelbarrow. Just keep rallying onto wood. You can rally onto food as well, especially if you've gotten barrack and you want to keep making horsemen and barrack units, then you can rally onto food. But advice, you can also add on to wood, and then you can balance out the wood floats with adding in more farms like this. Then consider adding an archer range, and then just keep playing it out. The third building is an archer range, but the fourth building has to be a blacksmith. Sometimes you might see your opponent preemptively builds a barracks in the dark age. Some people are going to be crazy and do that. So you don't open stable, then you open archer range and barracks. But just, you know, observe your opponent, what are they doing, and then act accordingly. So now we're going to add in a blacksmith. We're going to start our first few upgrades here at about 8 minutes. That's usually when we want to add in that blacksmith. Try to keep some space for your farms as well. And about that 8-minute mark is when you want to start adding the blacksmith. We run barrack, archer range, stable has stopped production, and we've queued up our first upgrade. Usually I like to go for ranged armor if I'm going to do a lot of dives, and ranged attack if I'm going to play longer feudal, because then my archers are just stronger in general. And if your opponent hasn't gotten that ranged armor, you're going to be mighty fine running archers with +1 ranged attack, because they'll kill anything from knights, horsemen, anything that has ranged armor, but no ranged armor upgrade. So that's pretty much the build. Played out long feudal, add in more farms, and you're going to be absolutely fine to play long feudal against Delhi, French, Jan, all of those civs that you would usually struggle against if you were to play a Longbow Rush, if you were to play 2 Town Center. So, pretty good build there. I highly recommend it. I'll link a video in the description below as well where I'm using it. Alright. The next build we're going to be taking a look at is going to be the 2 Town Center English Classic, but super strong. What you're going to be trying to do is to get a second town center at about 450, and then you're going to be playing Boom, as we call it. It's an economy style where you are trying to survive until a certain breakpoint where your second town center returns on the investment. So that's about 11 minutes, and that's about when most people are also going to try to push you with rams. The best players push with an all-in at about 11 minutes, 3 rams, and 40 units, if not more than that. And so what you're trying to do is to defend that. You're going to have to think about your placement of your second TC. You want it to be in the back. Never build a TC in the front, right? And then you want to think about, okay, how many farms do I make over units? You want to get more than 20, 25 units for 11 minutes. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult to defend. If you're in the lower leagues, however, this build is going to be incredibly strong, because what you'll find is most people won't attack you, or if they do, it's going to be delayed or not as strong. So do with that as you wish. I would say learn this build, but don't abuse it. You want to learn how to play aggression as well. What you do is similar to the King stable opener, so we're going to be skipping through most of the dark age, as I showed before in the other build. It's basically 6 on food, build a house with a food villain, then rally 2 villas to gold, get that mining camp, right? So it's a 6-2 split, 6 food, 2 gold. Then what you do is you rally back to food up until you can age up to the feudal age. Getting the feudal age, you're going to be building with 2 villagers, the Abbey of Kings. Abbey of Kings gives you that defensive king or aggression. You can use him aggressively as well, and that's going to give you the time you need to get your second town center up without taking damage, losing villas, and whatnot. You are a defensive civ in nature when you play English, and so your villagers also have short bows, and you can use them to defend against stuff like Mongol Tower Rush, against all these kinds of Dark Age rushes, and they don't really have any implication for you, because you can't really take damage if you just defend with villas and king. If you're up against something like Mongol Stable Opener, that's perhaps the only build people struggle against when they play English, because it shuts down the stone early. What you do then is, instead of macroing, like I'm going to tell you in a moment, you're basically just putting 6, 7, 8 vills on the Abbey of Kings, getting out quickly, and then because you get out quickly, you're going to get your king out quicker, and then you can, although you're going to be a little bit delayed, not have to build something like a barrack and stuff, because that's going to delay you even more. And the more you're delayed, the more vills you're losing passively through not having the second town center. So get your king out, defend against the horsemen, and then gather the stone you need. In the meantime, gather the wood you need. All right. So what we're doing here is we are putting 2 vills on the Abbey of Kings. We have 4 on the sheep, because we only need vill production. We don't need to pay anything for the king. The king is going to come out, and we're going to be aged up at about 450. You are going to take one of these vills away from the Abbey of Kings onto wood at about 2/3 of the way through the age up. And that's usually about 4 minutes. The way you split here is according to the left side, 3 in stone. So 1 is building currently. So 3 in stone, rally up until you have 6 on wood. And then you go 7 on stone and another 1 on wood from Abbey of Kings. So you're doing a 7-7 split. It's important to do it this way because you want to start gathering stone earlier. So 3 on stone, 6 on wood, go up to 7 on stone, go up to 7 on wood, and then you're going to be able to age up and get your second town center at 450. Drop off your sheep. Try to get a lot of sheep. You're going to be struggling a lot if you don't get your food. If you have something like a deer camp in the back here, that can be a really, really good placement for your second town center because you get extra gathered food from deers and stuff, and it can help you a whole lot when it comes to defending. Because what this build attempts to do is not to defend with a white tower, it's trying to defend with defensive units. Because at the higher level, you're just not going to be able to get a white tower and defend without sacrificing on at least some sort of aspect of your build. Whether that's farm power, whether that's how much resources you have access to, it's always better to have units than static defenses, because you can't win with static defenses. Yeah. Build a house with a stone vill. Go up 7 stone. Now we took, at 4 minutes, our vill away from Abbey of Kings, put it on the straggler trees. Most notably, don't delete your straggler trees, otherwise you're going to have to get a lumber camp. And yeah, you don't want to do that, because it's extra delay. Should you delete it, just build one. We're going to go up to 7 on stone here, and then we're going to gather until we have 850 left in the stone vein. So click the stone, and then look at the stone. Once it says 850, drop off the stone, and then move towards the gold, just like this. Take these vills, go towards the gold. Here we have rallied 1 villager, and at 450 we were able to build the second town center. So even though there's a bit of delay here because the gold is far away, sometimes there's not, and then you're going to be able to start building it earlier. I'm going to build this with only 8 vills, and that's fine. I'm going to start my lumber camp. The more vills you put on the TC, the faster you get your next villager in production. But the sort of counteractive thing that happens is, okay, now you're actually slowing yourself down, because every time you have a villager added onto something like building a second TC or keep or whatever, it's actually less efficient. So I think 8 is fine. You're going to be up at about 550, 540 with the second town center. But most importantly is you want to start your production. So get an archer range, get the barrack, then start a few farms if you don't have the food. Here we do have the food, but you need those defensive units if you scout the opponent's going to go aggression. If not, you can just go next stage after that. Maybe you can even move out in the deer. That's your decision. Here I rally 3 on gold for upgrades. Then I put 15 on wood, and I have a total of 8 on food here that I've rallied while I aged up, because I'm going to need 4 for every TC to maintain my villager production. Use the king aggressively, do some damage, delay your opponent. Whatever you can do with the king to get your second town center producing without getting punished. That's your goal. I've left 6 tiles of farm space in between the town centers. This is a good thing to do because it makes the defense of your farms a lot easier than if you are to put them out here. Don't put the farms in the front. Try to build your houses, your production buildings, close to your main TC in a front line here. Don't build them out here, because if you do, you're going to lose. Your opponent can just burn it down, and in an all-in situation, you don't want to be able to, you want to be able to produce. You don't want to be in a situation where you can't. And if you have your production buildings out here, they can just camp the units there, and you can't ever produce a unit. And that's going to lose you the game. So 3 in gold. We're going to split pretty evenly between food and wood here. Constant village production. I'm adding in a lot of farms here. You don't actually have to do that when you have this much sheep, but I'm just doing it for the example. Then barrack and archer range. Get your blacksmith at about 8-9 minutes for the +1 ranged attack. Very important in the defensive situation, more so than the ranged armor. Get the ranged armor when you go in the offensive. Your goal here is just to survive. The return on investment is 11 minutes, so your second CC has paid off there. But your goal is not to go for a counter-attack unless your opponent has literally just lost all their units in their attack. Then you can do so, because you're already winning. So play it safe, get next stage, get King's Palace as a 3rd town center if you're in a situation where you won't be punished for it after, for example, a good defense. If you're still in a situation where you have to defend against aggression, even after they've gone for their first attack, or if they never went for one, White Tower is very, very good as well. So 50-50 split between food and wood here. That 3 on gold. We've got wheelbarrow almost through here. Adding in a blacksmith for that +1 ranged attack. And our goal is just to get more than 20-25-ish units for 11 minutes. So that's how you play 2 town center with defensive units. You don't want to rally units out here. I've seen people in my coaching do that a lot. And they just randomly lose 1-2 spears here and there. And it's like, you need those units. Every unit is very precious in a situation where you have fewer. You're trying to maximize their effectivity, and you can't do that when you don't have them. So get your farms up, get that ranged attack, get that second archer range. You can wall a bit in the sides here, especially if you're with a front wood line like this. And yeah, just keep scouting, keep attacking, keep raiding, and buy yourself more time, because the more time you get, the easier the defense becomes. 3rd archer range, archers are king. Just get the spears you need if your opponent goes cavalry. And then once they fail their attack and you defend successfully, you go next stage. And you take relics, you win the game easy. You've already won because you've got the economy. So, yeah, that's it. The last build is going to be a little bit of an attempt to revive one of my oldest builds, which is the Longbow Rush. And so the Longbow Rush has still some significance in this current meta because we have some matchups that require you to play Longbow Rush. Those are against the Abbasid and the Ayyubids. It's pretty damn good to play Longbow Rush. And against the English, when you're playing English, so the mirror matchup, you definitely want to be doing full longbows as well. Now, there's some variations depending on whether you're playing against Abbasid or versus English. For example, if you're up against English, you're going to be doing no barrack. It's just full longbows and then into a blacksmith at 8 minutes. Whereas here, we're doing it with a barrack. If you're playing against the second town center and you're going to do a ram timing, then you're hitting an 11-minute ram timing. That's the goal here. So I'll explain the macro splits, of course, to do that. The build is in the description below as well, so just check it out. I've updated it compared to my old one that I had from about a year ago. So what you're going to be doing is, once again, the same opener as we've done in the past 2 builds, as I believe that is the most effective way to open up no matter what you're trying to do, unless it's Stargate Rush. So try to do the 5 on food, 1 to house, then food, and then 2 to gold, so it's a 6-2 split. Rally back to food. Easy peasy as that. Just rally back to food until you've aged up, and then re-macro. So let's split it up, speed it up a bit here. We're going to go for an aggressive scouting route as usual. Want to go aggressive so you know where to hit, and if you even can go aggressive. Some maps don't allow you to, especially if your opponent has a good spawn. Alright, Age up now comes through. You're going to be taking your 2 gold vills when you have below 3,900 gold. So that's about 210. And you're going to take those to the wood line. 1 lumber camp with those 2 vills, and then start rallying onto wood. For as per the stable opener with the king, we leave 6 on food, and that's because we want to save up food so we can instantly start producing once we've aged up. We're going to rally onto wood, and you're actually going to be doing this in this most easy way possible. You rally onto wood until you have 11 on wood. You're going to be stuck with 10 on food from the H-up. And then you go with 1 more on food. You rally 3 to gold for the upgrades. So it's an 11, 11, 3 split. And then you rally wood for the rest of the game if you're going to go for a ram timing. You're also going to rally on wood for the rest of the game if you're going to make farms. You're just going to balance your wood economy by adding in farms with your wood villagers. That's how you play English macro. Very simple. Spend all your resources whenever you're doing aggression. Don't ever float. Biggest mistake most people make that would, propel anyone out of gold and platinum. If they have the right strategy, they should just have the right macro, and they would not be in gold. Alright. Rally until 11 on wood. That's what we're doing now. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go up to 150 wood here. We take one villager from the H-Hub, build a barrack. And then once we have another 50 wood, we're going to take another H-Hub bill. And that H-Hub villager will go and build a house. Very simple. That slows down your H-Hub a bit, but that's fine because we're not going to be able to full produce anyways if we don't slow down a little bit. So just build it with your H-Hub villagers. 4 vills for all the building. These 4 vills that build the barrack, the house, the council hall, they're all going to go back to the sheep. Then immediately on H-Hub here, you're going to be continuing your rallying onto wood, and you're going to build longbows, spearmen. Try to keep 2 to 3 times as many longbows to spears, even up against cavalry civs, because you need those longbows. Those are your main damage dealers, your DPS. The spears are only there to deter cavalry from attacking you, and if you have enough longbows, cavalry is not even a problem. So just get your upgrades, and they will be able to outperform most units due to their extra attack. Longbows, classic rush coming through. You want to get at least 5 longbows before you move out, because then you'll be able to 2-shot vills. Most people aren't able to react to 2 shots from longbows in time, so you don't need to wait until you have 10 or 11. That's redundant. It's too slow. Just go up to 4 or 5. 5 is preferred, and then you'll be able to 2-shot. So here, gonna get one more longbow, then we're gonna prioritize getting a house after. There we go. And then we're just going to keep on producing. So we have 3 spears, 5 longbows. We move out about 5 minutes. And then we're going to go with our scout. Always bring your scout, otherwise you're going to run into danger. Bring your scout, go aggressive, and then you're going to be absolutely fine. You might wonder, what about food if I run out of food? Go to your berries. Go to your berries because it's going to be a lot faster for you to get food this way than it's going to be to set up farms. If you have deer close, you can also go for that. But I'd recommend just going for the berries. You don't want any downtime here. Then you can start 2-shotting vills. You can see how that works. Take those longbows, and then 2-shot. Boom. Easy. Takes super little time. Then you just continuously rally here. Remember to move your units. Don't do as I do here and, you know, just stay stuck in one place. Usually happens if you have everything selected. And you try to kill one villain and it dies, because then it'll all go back to idle. So, what you do is you just rally onto wood. You've got that 11-11 and 3 split. You just rally onto wood. We're at 7 minutes now. We're building a house. So that's our 4th house. We rally onto wood, and then we're going to get rams out at about 10:30-ish. We're going to get our blacksmith out at 8 minutes. That's the golden timing for the blacksmith. 8 minutes is pretty good for your first field upgrades. Get your ranged attack, ranged armor, siege engineering. You can fit in both ranged attack and ranged armor before you get your siege engineering. And then while you're getting your siege engineering, you're saving up on wood. And so you are going to be floating a lot of wood at about that 10 to 11 minute mark when you've rallied that much onto wood. But that's fine, because you needed 600 wood for 3 rams. You need 3 rams, not 2, not 1, if you're going to take down a second town center. And if there are no second town centers, don't get rams, just get farms. So that's the difference. One thing that's worth noting when you're playing aggressive with infantry is don't go into the back. Very important. Don't go into the back of someone's base, because if you do, and they have a superior force, you get cut off, and then you're going to be stuck in the back of their base, potentially losing all your units and dying. At about 7:30, we pulled our 1 villager here to build a tower. And the reason we do that is because we want to apply this extra attack buff to our units. The 20% attack speed is so important for the longbows, and it's about as important as getting an upgrade. So that 1 villager, really, really important to get that tower up. Put it on the wood line here, because then when somebody moves in behind the wood line and you have vision on them, you can then take your longbows, get that extra attack speed just by being in the vicinity of the tower. All right. So as you can see here, we're getting our ranged attack, we're getting our ranged armor, we're going to get siege engineering after, and we're just continuously producing. Here at about 10 minutes in, we have 35 units, and we're still producing. So at 10 minutes, 35 units. Pretty good. And the reason it's not 40, as my old build, is because we got the tower, and we prioritize getting some blacksmith upgrades a little bit faster. So that's of course up to you, how you prioritize, just as long as you're spending all your resources. As you can see here, I'm starting to float a bit, and that's on purpose, because what we're trying to accomplish here is to get siege engineering and rams down so that we can push it about 11 minutes. Of course, in this example, there are no second town centers because I'm up against an AI. But what you want to be doing then is, you know, in your games, you go for the second town center. You would not do this if your opponent's on 1 town center. Unless they're completely dead and you've killed everything and you're just trying to get the landmark victory. Otherwise, I would just go next age, Castle Age, and get all the upgrades there. That's a much safer way to win games with this build. And it also helps you scale. So you get your second town center through the King's Palace, and then you win that way.